Hi friends. Yesterday you should have conducted the investigation number 3, chemical weathering part 1. What you should have done is put each of the rocks in vinegar. What did you observe? Did you see bubbles? What do bubbles indicate? Bubbles can indicate a chemical reaction. A chemical reaction is a process in which two or more materials mix in a way that forms new materials. In this case, the limestone reacted with the acid rain and created a gas. Continuous streaming of lots of bubbles is evidence that a gas is being produced as a result of a chemical reaction. For this part 2 of the experiment, you will need to get the 4 plastic cups out of your science materials bag. Prepare those and set them aside. Part 2 is about evaporating the vinegar. How could we find out if a chemical reaction occurred, creating a new material that has dissolved in the clear liquid? Well, we're going to do that right now. Gather the vials with the rocks in them and separate all 4 cups. I'll show you how to do it in the next slide. For this next part of the experiment, you're going to need all 4 vials that you prepared the other day. The vials should still have the sticky note indicating what rock is inside. One at a time, just so you don't mess up, take each sticky note off and put it right on the plastic cup. So this one is marble. So I'm going to take the marble vinegar solution and I'm only going to pour just enough to cover the bottom of the cup. I don't want to pour the whole thing out because it has to evaporate and it'll take a lot longer to evaporate more liquid. So as you look here, I'm just pouring enough to fill the bottom of the cup. So just like that, okay? I'm going to repeat the process with the rest of the rocks, with the remaining 3. And then I'm going to set these aside for a couple days. Make sure that you put them in a location where they won't be disturbed. Make sure that your parents know that this is an experiment that you're conducting, so they shouldn't dump them out and think that they're garbage. So have that discussion with your parents ahead of time so that they're expecting to see this. If you have little brothers or sisters, make sure that you're putting them out of reach so that they're not disturbing the results of your experiment. Again, just enough vinegar to cover the bottom of the cup. And then this is limestone. Limestone, we discovered from our experiment yesterday, created the most bubbles once it was placed in the vinegar. So I'll be curious to see what the evaporation looks like once the vinegar has evaporated. And then finally, basalt. Again, just enough to cover the bottom of the cup. Now, here's where you have to be really careful. We need to return these rocks to the Science Center. And we don't want them going down the drain. So very carefully, you're going to take each vial to the sink, and I'll show you. And you're very carefully going to pour each vial out so that the rock does not come out with it. So very, very carefully, because if I just dump it, I risk the rock falling into the sink and down the drain, okay? So there's still a little bit of vinegar left in the cup, as you see. Now that you have a pretty empty vial, you're going to pour, and it's just vinegar, it's not gonna hurt you. You're just gonna pour it out into your hand so that you safely have the rock in your hand and not in the sink, okay? Then, because vinegar is really smelly, you're gonna wanna rinse out the vial with water in the sink. And like I said, it's vinegar, it's completely harmless. And then set it out to dry. And you're gonna wanna repeat that process with all 4 rocks. Before returning the rocks to their designated baggies, rinse them off with plain water and set them out to dry either on a napkin or paper towel. Remember to keep them out of reach of pets and siblings.